still with me? Barely.
Uncharted is the latest cinematic blockbuster starring Tom Holland, Mark Wahlberg, Sophia Ali, Tati Gabriel and Antonio Banderas. The film is inspired by the Uncharted video game series and centers on a young Nathan Drake who was hired by treasure hunter Victor Sullivan to help him recover 500-year-old lost fortune amassed by explorer Ferdinand Magellan. Right off the bat, I really enjoy the Uncharted video games. The really fun gameplay, the great characters, the funny dialogue, the fantastic set pieces, they're all just really great fun. With that being said though, I was not looking forward to this film. I like to give every film a chance. I don't like heading into films to be really negative and to think, oh, this is going to be terrible, I hate everything about this, but I don't know, just something about this film just didn't sit right with me. Maybe it was the casting, maybe it was the trailers, maybe it's just about the hundreds of terrible video game movies. So when I sat down to watch these at the cinema, I was not expecting much. This leads me to my quick story about one of the worst cinema experiences I've ever had. I'm not even trying to overhype this, it was just so bad. So I went in to see the film a few days ago now, in the early afternoon, and the cinema was pretty packed. So I walk up the aisle to my seat and I immediately noticed that there are two children about 6 to 8 years old sitting directly behind me. And this didn't initially concern me because how bad can they possibly be? Turns out pretty bad. I could tell that they very quickly got bored. They were talking, running up and down their aisle, and every so often kicking my seat. And we're not talking like a light poke into the back of my seat, we're talking like full-on football drop kick into the seat. But that wasn't even the worst part, because in front of me were a group of about 8 to 10 teenage girls who were very obviously there just to watch Tom Holland. And this became very obvious quite early on. There's a scene near the start of the film where Tom Holland is doing some exercises. He's got his shirt off, he's climbing ropes, push-ups, chin-ups, the usual. And from the reaction that these girls gave to this scene, you'd think that Tom Holland was actually in the room. And look, from one 14-year-old girl to another, Tom Holland is very hot. But you don't need to scream that publicly in a cinema while everyone's trying to watch the film. They're also taking selfies with the flash on during the film, talking loudly as if they're in their living room and not in a public place. And I didn't want to go all George Costanza on them.
Shut your trap and stop kicking the seats! We're trying to watch the movie! And if I have to tell you again, we're gonna take it outside and I'm gonna show you what it's like! You understand me? Now shut your mouths or I'll shut them for you. And if you think I'm kidding, just try me. Try me. Because I would love it!
And thankfully I didn't actually have to, because I think they were talking so loudly that the usher from outside heard them and came in to tell them to shut up. And while it's funny in hindsight, like, come on, you're in a cinema, you're in a public place. I'm here to watch the film, not you. But yeah, so on to the actual film. We'll talk about casting first. Tom Holland as Nathan Drake, I initially was against. I didn't really see it. As the film went on, he did win me over as Nathan Drake. He had the cockiness and the sly charm. It was a solid performance. Marky Mark, on the other hand, was a terrible Victor Sullivan. Like, just ridiculously bad. A terrible casting choice. If anyone hasn't played the games, Victor Sullivan is a charming, gruff, yet charismatic character. Mark Wahlberg, however, is not that.
Know what I love about partying with a bunch of crooks?
What's that?
Nobody cares if you smoke indoors.
Both you turn your keys clockwise at the same time.
Thanks a lot. You almost got me killed. Clockwise, Sully. Well, it was 50-50, so I made a guess.
I never felt throughout the film that I was watching anyone else besides Marky Mark. The dialogue for Sully was good, it sounded like him from the games, but if you had another actor besides Wahlberg, it'd fit better, because his performance just never screamed Sully for me. As for the rest of the cast, they're good. The actress Sophia Ali, who played Chloe, was really good. She felt like Chloe from the games. But she just didn't have a whole lot to do, and her character was unfortunately felt pushed to the wayside as the film went on, which was a shame. In terms of villains, Antonio Banderas was very disappointing in the film. He's not given a lot to do. For the most part, all his character was just standing in a room and just talking about himself. He didn't really do anything villainous, and he just overall was just a bit flat for me, unfortunately, because I really like him. Tati Gabriel, his henchman, was a lot better. She's easily the best villain of the film, which isn't saying much, but regardless, she was a straightforward villain that served her purpose. That leads us to the cinematography for the film. Yeah, it was fine. I honestly don't have much to say about the cinematography. There wasn't any standout shots to me. I can't really remember any shot in the film where I thought, oh, that's a really great shot. The dialogue scenes were very simply shot. It would just be a shot, reverse shot, without any clever staging. which was disappointing. Especially when you have characters like expressing their motivations or giving exposition. When you just got like a very simple setup for most of the film, it just comes off as boring. The action scenes were well shot. I was never confused about what was happening, and the action itself never seemed fake. The CGI was very good. I never felt like I was taken out of the film by bad CGI, which is always a plus. So I guess it leads us on to the story. Where do I start with the story? The story is solid but forgettable. So Nathan Drake is meant to be a young Nathan Drake. His origins have been changed to fit the context of this story, which if you haven't played the games you won't care about, but if you have, just bear that in mind. They're subtle but noticeable changes. What the film suffers from the most in the story is that it does a lot of telling and not showing, especially when it's tied to character motivations. Whenever a character is telling another character about their motivations, it's very standard. It's very shot, reverse shot of the characters talking to each other. I felt like if the film showed while they're talking like a flashback to what they're talking about, and you see it visually, that would have helped the film a lot more, and I would have been able to relate to the characters a lot more, because what we get is just very boring to watch. It's just very, okay, this is Mark Wahlberg, and Mark Wahlberg's talking about why he's motivated, and now we have Tom Holland who disagrees with that, and now he's going to tell his motivations. It just felt very rushed, and it didn't feel relatable, and it just fell flat. And you know, the film already has flashbacks already at the start, so I don't know why they just didn't do that throughout the film. The film has a few twists, which I think really helped the film overall. The main twist in particular, I generally didn't see coming and was a good surprise that improved the film. The third act, I would say, is the best part of the film. It felt very Uncharted. In fact, the end set piece, I could see that set piece taking place in one of the games. It embraced the insane set pieces that are prevalent throughout the games, and the film is much better for it. It leaves the film on a high note, which I think it definitely needed. And just a quick nitpick as well, the film's music. Now, the Uncharted games has a great main theme. It's fantastic, I love it. And I don't get why they didn't use that more in the film. They use it every now and then, but they also have a different main theme for Nathan Drake, and the two themes clash. Like the new theme is just, it's terrible. It's just this really weird electric guitar rock theme, and it just doesn't suit the character for me. And I just felt they should have stuck to the more traditional game music. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Has a few good moments in it, and overall I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. I wouldn't recommend you drop everything to go see this film straight away. You know, if you're bored on a weekend and nothing else to do, I'd recommend to go see it. It's a fun enough adventure that you can just turn your brain off and watch for 2 hours and have a good time. And yeah, like the best thing I can say about this film is it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. If you have 15 minutes and you do want to see an Uncharted film, I'd recommend the short film with Nathan Fillion and Stephen Lang. It captures the spirit of the characters in the games much better, and it's also a lot of fun. Hi everyone, thank you for watching my film review for Uncharted. You could probably tell, but this is the first time that I just spitballed the video. In my other videos, I follow a script that I will talk through. This is the first time I've actually just talked about what I've thought about the film. You know, I'm just trying it out, see how it feels. Let me know in the comments how you thought about it. And yeah, that's about it. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video.